Thanks for joining us again here at the desk. Still going on with the Smite Console League final LAN. This time we got Finch. This time we got Tolly. We got Zaxi here joining us. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be back. I know the desk missed me.
Oh, yeah. It's been talking to us all day. Where is this guy? Get him out here.
Yeah, coming from Worlds as well, doing a great job there. We're glad to have you. And, if Obey doesn't make it, we'll bring you back, too.
Thanks, fan. Thank you.
Yeah, that way, not so much pressure. You have a way to get a ticket either way now.
That's right. I'm going either way. Good. No pressure on me.
No pressure, though, for him. But in this next set, there really might be some pressure here coming up. Before that, something that I've been doing a lot of, I've been personally really enjoying that Smite adventure here. It's been a lot of fun and something that we want y'all to get involved in, too. It should be available now on all platforms. So that's something where no matter how you're playing, get in, get involved. And if you're able to get one of the fastest times there, if you're like Tolly and you're using the Tolly strats, post them online, you might be able to get some gems and some skins.
I mean, it helps when I get literally Pythagoras Piece, Obsidian Shard, and Spear of Desolation just to be able to carry with my health sustain.
That's right. My items are all over the place. I think I got Masamune, Heartward, Chronos Pendant, so I can't really build anyone. I can build a lot of people halfway, though, totally. A lot of people halfway. So
it's all about being, well-rounded.
Well-rounded. What about y'all over there? Are y'all excited to get on that console, or not on the console, but on the adventure, rather?
I mean, I'm not good at PvE, I'm going to be honest. So
Shaliber loved PvE.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
Shaliber's a PvE guy. I'm not. I'm more of a PvP guy, so I won't be getting farmed by the AIs.
That's true.
Well, don't worry. We'll have plenty of PvP coming at y'all here, too. This next one, it's going to be strictly business going up against Elevate here, totally. And we're actually transitioning over to Group A now as well.
That's right. Strictly Business came in with a huge performance from the online, getting 10 points for themselves, only losing 3 games towards the later stage, actually, of the split, losing to Astral and Myth, 2 of the top-tier teams alongside you as well. And then Elevate struggled a lot in the online portion, only finding 1 win against Thor. What is it about Elevate you think that sort of helped them struggle so much?
Well, I mean, it is a newer team. When you talk about Mythic in the mid lane and Nexamiss in the solo lane, those were 2 acquisitions that they had, mid-season. So it doesn't surprise me that it's taken a while for them to gel. You got to wonder, these are guys that haven't played at LAN either, so how are they going to do at LAN? I think those are 2 big question marks. That Cam and Kenshin, those are 2 veterans. I think they can really help those guys and, get their heads in the game, get them rolling. And then DoctorL. So that's 3 veterans there. I think they need to really help the new guys out. And this Elevate team is way better than their record shows.
I definitely would have to agree with you. I think LAN is a different entire beast, and Elevate's veteran players should be able to help those newer ones come along.
Well, how big is that? I mean, I got to ask you, since you're here on the desk with us, I mean, when you're in this LAN environment, when you can, hear the other team kind of shouting across at you, and, all the other players and coaches and other teams are watching, I mean, how much pressure is that on y'all when y'all are sitting there playing? Do y'all feel it a lot different?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of pressure. I mean, it's way different. When you're online, you're sitting there in the comfort, your room or whatever, and you're just, no one's around, so it's no pressure. But you get here, there's people watching, it's being broadcasted live. Yeah. It's a whole different feel, really. So we'll see how it works out, but I expect Elevate to perform pretty well in this set.
Well, Strictly Business, as you mentioned, have been looking good this online split here, totally. In particular, Matt Koiz for him, man, in that support role. I mean, the dude's looking great this split here so far. I mean, what's it like for you over there? I mean, going up against, or when you play against someone like Matt Koiz?
Yeah, Matt Koiz is just, to me, to an ADC, he's just a really annoying player, but he is a very good player. He will, any mistake you make, Matt Koiz will be able to capitalize on. And he has great rotations, he has great peel, he just has a great feel for the map and a great feel for the game, and he's the most winningest player on Xbox in the console league, so you got to know that this guy's going to bring it.
And what's really impressive to me is even though taking a little break after the Worlds, he was still able to perform at such a high level.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing, he played a little bit on PC, and he's been playing in the Pro League since it came out on console, so this guy's a seasoned veteran. No questions about this guy's performance for me. I feel like he's going to have a big set.
And he looks like it, too. I mean, we saw him, even being a little bit joking with the camera there with us there, too. I mean, that's so important when your team's able to be relaxed going into matches like this. And some of that veteranship you were talking about with him kind of shining through. Another one on that team, though, that's a big impact player for him, though, is Ryan Jarman. I mean, over there in the solo lane, he's just a beast, totally.
It just seems to me that he's always playing so aggressive out of that solo lane. And despite his KDA, he might not seeming that high. He's always in the back line making the plays happen.
Yeah, I mean, Jarman and their jungler Kaeydan, they like to stick together early game. Kaeydan will get him through that early if he's playing something right here like Shen, or if he's playing something like Hercules, they'll look for the aggressive kills in lane. So yeah, I expect big things from the solo duo lane of SB.
And going up against Nexamiss and DoctorL on Elevate side of things, trying to really fight fire with fire, because DoctorL has, transitioned from the soul lane into the jungle, but he's still kind of employing a little bit of similar strategies, it seems.
Yeah, you never know what DoctorL is going to play either. He has one of the weirdest god pools on Xbox, but he makes it work. I mean, he'll bring out the Gabrakan, he'll bring out the Morrigan. You never know what he's going to play, which makes it difficult, to ban him out or to account for.
Yeah, this Elevate roster, as you said, maybe not having the most success they want record-wise, but we know this is a team that's full of talented players, in particular DoctorL here for him. And, LAN, it's kind of like a little bit of a fresh start. I mean, how true is that? When you come into LAN, you get a chance to just sort of do it yourself. I mean, is that a mindset y'all bring in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. Your record literally doesn't matter at LAN. I mean, you're here, everyone's 0-0. Doesn't matter if you went 0-50 or whatever in the regular season, But here at LAN, it's a fresh start. So yeah, these guys definitely have that mentality too. They know they're better than their record shows. They have great leadership on that team, and DoctorL and Kenshin, and I really, really expect these guys to perform well.
Well, we had a chance here to listen to a little bit of what DoctorL thought. Let's go ahead and see how he's feeling.
Season 4, after our good land, the spring land, the middle of the summer split, we split up, and it was hard for me to recover the team, I guess, after that. Just because when you make any sort of change, all the communication is different from every single person, so I guess it was hard for me to rebuild that quickly. Definitely my communication has gotten a lot better, because Kenshin was off the team for a while, and it was mainly up to me to pick up what he wasn't doing, what he used to do. So I think it honestly helped me grow as a player a lot when he left for a small portion of time. Yeah, I feel like it helped me a lot. I'm honestly, I talk too much attention now, honestly. My playstyle, I would say I'm more of like a team player. I don't really play these carries and just try to hard farm and then carry the team. I'm more of like a complete team player. I just want to get my team ahead, go to the objectives, win team fights, and eventually win the game. I'm a big believer that the biggest obstacle is always yourself. I think our group is really tough, but if you lose, the game it's your fault. You made mistakes. The other team can punish it harder if they're a better team, but it's really up to you to play your best.
And you heard it there from DoctorL himself, a bit of a team player, but he is also saying, he's in a tough group, and totally, I think he's right there when he says, even Obey, too, so they got a lot to worry about. Tell me a little bit about this Group A that they're sitting in.
Against Obey Alliance
Sure.
here, and Enix as well, former defending world champions, now you replacing Air Cougar. Tell me about a little bit of the dynamic that it's been for you filling in those shoes.
It's definitely been a process. But, it's great playing with these guys. They're all great professionals. And, you got Mifflin. He's like the troll of the bunch. He likes to troll a lot. But at the end of the day, these guys know what it takes to get it done, to win a world championship. And I'm still learning from them every day. So, it's great to be with these guys.
And we talked about a little bit, Elevate has had, some changes there on the roster. Y'all have been through a little bit of that yourselves, too. How much, because he talked about how it can disrupt communication. How much can it kind of cause these growing pains, that kind of communication, when that kind of stuff happens?
Yeah, it's it's an order of power thing. So, if your shot caller gets replaced or whatever, you might need to defer to someone else. And it just takes time, to know who to listen to in the important situations, who to go to, what to do after you get a pick, or what to do after you get fire giant, or, whatever. But yeah, I think it definitely can take some time to work things out, which, as you can see from the Elevate roster, it has taken some time. But I think these guys finally got it figured out.
For you, though, specifically with Obey Alliance, it's been probably still Jelly and Mifflin being the vocal 2 points, right? At least in the early game?
Yeah. Jelly and Mifflin are definitely our two most vocal. And then probably me. I try to be as vocal as possible. As an ADC, they don't really want to hear much from you just because you're sitting over there AFK farming for a while. But I try to put in my thoughts and things about whatever, to help them out. But yeah, definitely Miff and Jelly, and it hasn't been too hard to gel with these guys, because they're all real likable guys, real nice guys, and it's been a pretty smooth transition.
I see what you did there, gelling with Jelly.
Yeah.
You're a true caster/analyst here. That's why we have you.
Everyone else was just willing to just enjoy that one, but let's shine the spotlight on it totally. Yeah, That's how you like to do. But either way here, we got an important match here. We talked about a little bit how this is going to be the first set of the Group A. The reason why it's so important here, though, is because in these individual groups, they're going to be only playing against each other, these best of 2 matchups, and they have a chance to come away with 3 points or no points. So, I mean, being able to get as many as you can, it's so important here.
Myth already beating out Kaz in Group B gets themselves in a better position here.
Yeah.
If they win one more set, they're guaranteed to go to Worlds here. In Group A, I'm looking at specifically you guys and Strictly Business as the top 2 personally. How do you feel out of this group?
Yeah, I think definitely us and SB are the top 2, but I'm not counting out Enix or Elevate. I know Elevate is a great team, and I know Enix is a great team. I've watched them a lot.
Yep.
And that's the thing about LAN. You know, everyone thought that Dig was going to make LAN on the PC side.
Sure.
Anything can happen. So you have to bring it every game. You have to come ready to play every game, or you're going to get sent home.
So tell me about you and your team's preparation heading into this LAN. I'm assuming you guys are scrimming everyone in Group B instead?
Leading up to this LAN, we were scrim partners with Myth, actually. So they gave us some great practice, you know, in this month upcoming to LAN. So we know how strong they are on the other side of the bracket. You know, so it was no surprise today to see them get the 2-0. But yeah, they've been great practice for us, and they're all great players. And honestly, every team at this LAN has a chance of coming away with a win, which is the interesting thing about it. Everyone has just become so close to each other on the boxing. You know, it used to be the PC natives were dominating it for a while, but now the box guys have caught up, and you never know what to expect.
I mean, me personally, I tried playing on controller, and then after a couple of games, I'm like, all right, I put more respect on the name of all the console players out there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It takes some adjustment. I mean, I'm here at the LAN playing PC, and, you know, it's like foreign for me. I'm like, how do you guys hit these? Like, I don't know what to do.
Well, it could be a bit of an adjustment there, and I agree with Tolly. You know, certainly put a little respect on, you know, what our console players are doing. They do an excellent job here, but I want to ask you a little bit about what you touched on there. I mean, if you're in a matchup where maybe you're supposed to win, or maybe you're the favorites, because I mean, last set maybe it wasn't quite as clean as we might have expected there. I mean, is there sometimes some playing down that can happen? Is that something that can happen in a set?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's, you know, plenty of teams in professional sports everywhere. Teams play to the level of their competition. That's a big problem with a lot of teams. So you really have to watch out for that. You have to bring your A game every time. You know, you can't just say, oh, you know, we'll run this half speed because it's these guys and they're not very good, and then you wind up 10K down and, you know, maybe lose the game or whatever. So, you know, you always have to take every match at LAN, especially at LAN, really seriously, because everyone is going to be on their A game, especially the underdogs, because they know that they're not favored to win the match, and they're going to play twice as hard. So you have to match that intensity.
The way I looked at the last set was specifically Jumpa being a little bit too aggressive at times, going into hyper speed drive mode, trying to find the plays, and that actually allowed Kaz to be so reactionary, specifically Alexum just finding those kills. So I'm expecting maybe Elevate might do a similar thing where they're going to be a little bit more slower and more careful than Strictly Business will.
Yeah, I expect Elevate to come out very calculated. I expect to see kind of a weird comp. Elevate's known for running some oddball comps. But yeah, I expect their play to be very, very calculated.
Even without Michael Checo, they're going to run those weird comps?
Yeah, I mean, Checo was kind of a product of Kenshin. Kenshin, I think, kind of rubbed off on Checo and then on DoctorL, and so it's kind of a chain reaction thing. But yeah, love Checo. All the best to him.
Well, we got game one just about ready to get started. Y'all might even be able to hear them. They're getting loud. They're getting excited in there, ready to start up the first game here of our second set, actually the first set of Group A. And Elevate going to be the ones picking first here. Anything in particular that you're expecting to be prioritized given these two teams we're looking at?
Both for the Hunter picks, I know both of them will play the AMC. AMC is a top pick right now. I know DoctorL really likes the Morgan, and I know oBoronic for SB really likes the Morgan. Although with the bugs, I don't know if we will see her come out. But if it does come out for Elevate, I expect it to be going to DoctorL, or if it comes out for SB, I expect it to be on oBoronic.
Such a huge powerhouse whenever you can have your jungler play a mage in that role and then just take some options away from the opposing mid-mage, forcing them into something maybe less conventional. Like you were talking about, a Musin Cobb, that top priority pick, but surprisingly, it's Elevate that bans it away despite them being first pick.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I know Cam said he would play it, but in the last time he played it in the Pro League, it was against Soar, and he really struggled in that set. So, you know, maybe that's sitting in the back of his mind saying, you know, maybe I want a god with a little bit more mobility. The AMC just wasn't doing it.
We've seen the Musenkop taken away. We've also seen Hachiman get played a good bit already here today. Played twice and to good success last game. So even without a Musenkop, there's certainly still some viable Hunter picks out as Strictly Business round out that first ban phase with the Soul ban. They want to take that out.
Yes, we saw Koiz just performing lights out on that Hachiman. Do we expect Cameron to do the same here?
I don't know. I don't know if Cam plays Hachiman. I don't think he does. But I would be surprised if Elevate first picked their Hunter. Now the AMC's off the table. I think they might wait a little bit in their draft. You know, maybe get DoctorL a priority jungler like a Kabrakan or something like that, because I know he's been picked a lot, or pressure in the solo lane with the Osiris.
Delny was doing work in the last set. We'll see if Elevate's Nexamiss could be able to do the same here.
Osiris, as you said, was one that was a terror in the last set. Elevate prioritizing it, but Strictly Business in return, taking an eye towards the jungle. They're possibly here for Kaeydan as they go ahead and pick up that Thor.
Thor is just one of, every time I hear Kaeydan's name, I'm thinking Thor. Thor, Thor, Thor.
Yeah, I mean, this is Kaeydan's god. This is the guy that he's most comfortable on. It doesn't, and he's a great pick right now. He's always been solid, so it doesn't surprise me to see them first pick the Thor, followed up by the Hu-Yi. Hu-Yi's still very strong. Those nerfs still haven't came through for him on the patch right here. So definitely the AoE ult from Hu-Yi, a lot of control around the objectives. Really good at picking out supports early on too. If you can chain CC him in the Hu-Yi ult, they just melt.
And that is something that you're right, that's really valuable from that ADC position, that big AoE ultimate. That's part of what makes Hu-Yi such a good pick. But now we're taking it back over here towards Elevate, where they're got a chance to try and get a couple picks of their own, and they go with the Chulainn here. So we think we're maybe seeing Chulainn in the jungle, or an Osiris solo, or where we think we're going to be seeing those totals.
It's probably going to go Osiris in the solo lane. The reasoning why is Chulainn can make a lot of early game plays, especially if you go for that level 1 blink play. You go into the back line, you knock up multiple members. As long as you're getting closer to that rage threshold, now you're getting 3 more abilities to be able to chase down the opposition.
Yeah, and DoctorL, you know, being a solo laner, he likes to play these warriors in the jungle. He likes the frontliner warriors, and the Chulainn, you know, can gank lanes very easily if he does go for the blink level 1. You know, you got the blink knockup, followed by, you know, more damage. So I really, and Chulainn is a strong pick. I'm surprised that SB did not first pick this, because I know that Nickwood does not play it, but I figured Kaeydan would play it. They opted to go for the Thor, but Elevate rounds their first half out with the Zeus. Very interesting.
Now, something I'm seeing already from Elevate is a few holes in their composition is they don't have the backline peel for the Zeus. Between Osiris and Chulainn, sure, they can dive the backline, find the kills, and make life a living hell for Hu-Yi here, but where's going to be the peels here? Are they going to try to go for a Geb or a Khepri here later?
Kenshin is known to play Khepri, but he just hasn't been in meta as of late, so I would expect to see a Geb ban from SB. But if the Khepri is up, you know, late in the draft, you got to think that Kenshin might want to play that, you know, just for the Zeus, because right now they have a very all-in comp. You know, Osiris could call in Zeus. That is about as all-in as it gets. So not a lot of peel on the board for the Zeus yet.
But as you mentioned, life might be hard for Fatal Ghost. You're going up against that Osiris and that Chulainn, man. Something that they're going to be looking for. Strictly Business, though, taking an eye towards that Shen. They want to limit a little bit more of those options for him as far as those tankier picks and maybe getting a little bit of help for him.
Guardians are going to be the focus banding point for SB. They already have their 2 frontline warriors, their mid-mage. They could opt to maybe potentially ban out Hunters against Cameron, considering they already have the Hu-Yi. But knowing that, you know, the top 2 picks between a Musenkop and Hu-Yi has been taken away, now I think that SB wants to kind of dare Cameron to pick Hachiman and see what he's up to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I expect to see a Geb ban here from SB. I would be shocked if it wasn't a Geb ban. And then Cam's got a lot of guys. Cam's really like the Anhur in past days. Just likes the early aggression, likes the way Anhur plays. I know me and him play a lot of Anhur duels back and forth, so that's always an option for him. And I don't know. I just don't know if he's going to play the Hachiman or not. I know Thor's pretty decent against Hachiman. Can wall him off in the ult. So we'll see.
Called it. The Geb ban.
Yep.
Kenshin knows to play these safe Guardians in the backline, just peeling for it, especially with a Zeus on toe. You really want to make sure that you eliminate some of those safety options. But like you were mentioning before, Khepri has always been one of the staple picks for Kenshin. He hasn't brought it out recently, but now's the time.
Yeah, I mean, if Kenshin were going to play Khepri, I feel like this would be the game. They picked the most, you know, immobile god in the game, or one of them, Zeus, with no peel really at all in the first half of their draft. I mean, Chulainn has the knock up to peel sort of, but you know that's very temporary. and Osiris not great at peeling. So you're looking at Guardians. You're looking at Khepri, maybe a Sobek decent at peeling frontliners and tanks off.
What about Athena here potentially to disrupt Berserker Barrage? Something to just eliminate that channeling ability.
Yeah, definitely could see the Athena too. Also, when you talk about the Athena, can easily ult the Zeus in the middle of the team fight, get him that damage reduction. That might be all it takes for him to live a little bit longer. And I do expect Mythic to go for a tankier build here. I would be shocked if he doesn't. Oof. Yeah, and then SB takes the Athena away.
Yeah,
Smart.
I mean, and that's what going first after that pick ban phase is. They almost get to do another ban in a way, pull another Guardian away from Elevate, and that's what they do. So the Athena option, so going to have to go deeper into the God pool here now, is Elevate if they want to find this last Guardian here.
I mean, there's always a Hades potentially, right? But when was the last time we saw an authentic Hades support, especially in the console scene? It has been a hot minute. Anhur for Cameron, you were talking about how aggressive he likes to be and try to go for those one-on-one exchanges. But now, Sylvanus is a good way to stay in the fights longer.
Yeah, and this is a similar comp. We played Elevate in the regular season. They ran a comp similar to this. It's pretty much all in. I mean, you're just telling your Zeus, buddy, try and stay alive as long as you can because I can't really peel for you that hard. So.
I mean, and honestly, the ulti combinations between Sylvanus and Zeus, we saw Season 3 Super Regionals, Team Eager actually make this strategy work, and then everybody started copying it, how powerful those AoE controls are, especially around the Gold Fury area.
Yeah, and when you look at Elevate's comp, it's knock-up into Zeus damage. You got the Sylvanus ult knock-up. You got the Chulainn ult knock-up. Stone a Gaia going to be a really good item here for SB for their tanks. When they get knocked up, get that health regeneration back. A really, really strong item. You've been seeing it build a lot. So I don't know. It's just going to be – it's basically kill or be killed for Elevate. I mean, can we kill them before our Zeus dies?
You took the words directly out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking. But on the flip side, last pick for Strictly Business, this Hebo also screams the same kind of theme, kill or be killed.
Oh, yeah. Hebo feels that same way to me, too. I got to agree with y'all on that one. But, I mean, if they needed, plenty of magic damage in that last pick, if that's something they needed to prioritize to try and answer this Zeus, then, I mean, you got to feel like they did it here with this Hebo pick. How do you feel about what Hebo can do for this Strictly Business comp?
I mean, it's kill or be killed. He can one-shot the Zeus. I mean, their whole Elevate's whole comp is really based around the Zeus damage off your knockup. So, if you're able to get something like a blink on Hebo maybe, which I know oBoronic does love to get for a second relic, and just one-shot, isolate the Zeus out, pick him off early, then you can maybe just snowball the fight from there for SB.
And something that's really powerful for SB here is the Athena synergy with the Habwa. Normally, when I think of Athena support, I'm thinking of maybe a Poseidon, maybe a Scylla to get a lot of huge burst damage, but all of Hebo's abilities have huge burst damages. If you get the knock-up after the Athena taunt, especially on these two warriors that might not necessarily get beads, they're not going to be able to pop the thorns, and therefore you guarantee your ulti before the thorns damage.
And totally, talk to me a little bit. I mean, the Strictly Business comp, they also seem pretty mobile here to me, like when I'm looking at between the Athena, Thor. I mean, even he can jump pretty well. I mean, how well are you going to be able to use that against Elevate? You
talk about the global pressure from Thor and Athena, and then on top of this, you have the Habwa water carpet that's going to eliminate the slows, specifically against the Anhur pillar.
Yeah, I mean, Hebo, for Strictly Business, it's the Hebo combo. It's Athena taunt into Hebo damage, and once he gets late game, he has 3 ultimates, essentially. So I think it's going to be a story of which warriors can dive the mage better, which warriors for SB and Thor, Erlang and Thor, can they dive Zeus better than Chulainn and Osiris can dive the Hebo?
It really feels like to me Elevate are kind of putting all their eggs into one basket, it really looks like. But Strictly Business, I don't know how much that's the case here, totally. I mean, even if maybe they lose the Hebo, I mean, he can still bring plenty of damage. Feels like maybe there's a spread a little bit better.
That's true. The late game options between Hui versus Anhur definitely favoring out that because of the Mark of the Golden Crow being able to just amplify damage more consistently, especially on such an aggressive frontline composition. And then the Habwa will just have more burst damage, whereas Zeus has more sustained damage. The longer team fight lasts, the more guaranteed damage I think it'll be for Elevate.
And we didn't talk about the globals that SB has. They have the double global, the Thor, the Athena. So, I know SB is a team that really likes to play around globals. Kaeydan really likes this Thor. So I would expect to see SB get engaged early and often with these globals. As soon as they hit 5, I know SB is looking to fight.
And looking to fight is probably Cameron in that dual lane. So
Oh, yeah.
I think Strictly Business have that in the back of their mind, and they're going to probably look to put pressure on Cameron.
Yeah, oh yeah. And Koiz will always help out Ghost as much as possible. He has a really good feel for when he can come in, on Athena, when he's going to be able to come in and get these taunts off, maybe get beads and reset, and then making that 1v1 a little bit easier for Ghost, and obviously Kaeydan with the globals. So Cameron has to be very careful in the duo lane, not to be overextended. He's known to want to box and want to fight, but he has to realize they have 2 globals. With the Athena Thor, you have to be very careful.
And you were talking about the Athena taunt here, but we also have to look at the Erlang Shen taunt. There's a lot of crowd control on the side of Strictly Business with the Thor wall as well, the slows from Hu Yi. I'm not expecting Elevate to have an easy time to die with that double warrior comp.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look at these 2 comps, I really think SB's is just a little bit more well-rounded. I like the idea behind Elevate's comp. I think that if executed properly, it can work, but I think there's a little bit more margin for error with SB's composition than there is with Elevate.
And I think that's exactly the way to say it. I mean, we're talking a lot about what Strictly Business has going, but by no means are we saying Elevate's comp can't work, but it's just that if that kind of one thing doesn't work, maybe then Elevate will have a hard time winning that team fight, but Strictly Business kind of have a couple ways to get it done here, Tolly.
And they've been showing it in the online portion thus far, sitting at 7-3, getting the 10 points, whereas Elevate have struggled a lot. So, but like you were talking about how thus far it's a new setting for both of these teams. Everything that happened in the online portion goes out the window.
And I want to ask y'all too here. I mean, we got the Sylvanus. I mean, do you think the sustain's going to be a big factor here for this Elevate composition? I mean, is that something Strictly Business had to worry about?
I think absolutely, because we're looking at the AoE damage from Zeus and then the AoE healing from Sylvanus. The longer these team fights last, I think the more favorable for Elevate.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. You said it.
Yeah, so they might not have to go too all in here. At least we're thinking, they can get that sustain off. But either way, we're not too far from getting that game ready for you. Let's go ahead and get it over to Gormizer and Taco to talk to us a little bit here about the game.
Thank you once again, Finch, as we go forward with this one. It's going to be an interesting first game. There's a lot on the line. We've seen these teams go against each other before, but LAN changes things. LAN makes it different, and it's kind of the great equalizer.
LAN pretty much changes up the entire scenario because for a lot of these players, some of them might have had the LAN experience, some of them haven't, and that can also have a pretty significant impact when it comes to playstyle in general. And like the desk already covered, Strictly Business, when it comes to making mistakes and actually recovering from those mistakes, they have a lot more room for error than what Elevate's draft can probably provide.
And they have a lot, both sides really have kind of a strategy you can see just based on their compositions that they're going for. And when I look at Elevates, I see a lot of, let's just let Zeus and Anhur do the damage that they need to do. The rest of them, we're just kind of keep those guys alive, get them in there so they can apply that damage and spread it around. Where Strictly Business, it's kind of the same thing, but with a Habwa.
I'm really excited actually for this matchup as well, particularly between the Hunters, because Anhur is a very aggressive Hunter matchup to take into a Hu Yi. The mindset being that you want to use that pillar to try and reflect that ricochet from the Hu Yi, preventing the lane clear, preventing any sort of initial aggression at least, because it's a very common combination for Hu Yi to try and jump into you and then look for that stun off of his Mark of the Crow.
A whole next level play. Not only pillar stun, but pillar block coming through, so it's going to be interesting to see that. And as the desk did cover, there's like the semi-global Thor ultimate that's going to be able to hit you either from the Gold Fury or the Fire Giant Pit, as always going to be ever present for Strictly Business. But being able to combo that, Athena can follow him around, or vice versa. They can just collapse in, and a lot of CC and control from Strictly Business that just set them up to get a ton of damage bursted out.
And that's the primary concern, at least for Elevate, is that they are basically the aggressors when it comes to these two drafts. And for them, if they don't find the kill off of clean execution, then they're most likely going to end up losing the team fight, because there is just so much counter engage that Strictly Business can actually put out. You've got Thor ultimate, you have Erlang taunt from his ultimate, Athena is probably going to be spam taunting like off cooldown, and Habwa, that's just freebie follow-up.
And free damage when it comes down to it. Like, he can put out a lot, of course, his passive augments that just a little bit more to allow him to hit harder. And on the other side, Erlang, we're going to have Thor, we're going to have Athena, a lot of setup. Chulainn has the setup, but he hasn't the same impact, as I'd say, as the standard assassin jungle.
It's one of those things where if it is the Chulainn being in the jungle, you are probably going to be expecting a blink to come through. He needs some sort of initiation factor, considering that Osiris can't really be the sole initiator, and Sylvanus for sure, they're going to have at least 1 or 2 members trying to protect that Zeus, and that's really where all of the worry comes in for Elevate, is can we actually keep our Zeus alive?
And it's difficult. Zeus, not necessarily the most mobile, not really good at running away, doesn't have a dash, doesn't have a jump. So if he gets locked down, similar to what we've seen with Ammuz and Cobb, if he can get chased down, that's usually the end of it, but he can put out a lot of damage. So his goal usually is to kill you faster than you kill him.
But that's the thing, though. How do you outkill the Habwa? As long as Strictly Business is able to maintain a steady pace alongside of Elevate, I just don't really see how a Zeus could possibly overpower that Habwa, other than space control. Space control would be the primary factor here, but again, Strictly Business just have so many different ways to counter that.
And this is going to be one of those ones where, on the line, there's not a whole lot for this first game. You still have a way to bring it back, because it's similar point system to what you saw during the split. 2 wins affords you 3 points, and it's only going to be 2 game sets each time. So you're really just trying to get that upper hand. We already saw Myth, like John Finch had mentioned earlier on the desk, they've put themselves up 3 points in their group coming in. This is a good starting spot for either of these teams, or for Elevate in the case of honestly how it's kind of weighted. This is a harder group. Kind of expecting even just 1 point can make a big difference.
That's the dream behind all of this, though, is that 1 point, sure, that's at least something to walk away with, but 3 points is at least going to set you in a very solid positioning, at least from the start of the day. Yeah. I mean, nobody wants to be the team that ends up walking away from a set with 0 points. Unfortunately for Kaz, they already suffered one case of that, but there's always opportunity to bounce back. There's still quite a few matches left to go, and again, in these best of 2 sets, it can be really complicated, because you can risk these sort of drafts, but you can only risk them so many times.
And we were kind of touching on the fact that this group specifically kind of rings out a little harder. And, you know, we mentioned Kaz. It's kind of rough for them because they were only able to come in. They have 2 subs filling in. So it's a little bit like that group is a little bit more widespread in terms of top and bottom, whereas this one, everything's really close-knit. Even Strictly Business, who was batting for top for a majority of the split, have come in, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, Elevate wasn't the best, but they're definitely still able to hold it up. And coming in, I mean, both teams have a terrific composition. They both have good strategy coming in. You could see, like, during the player cams when we looked through while they were going through picks and bans, they're taking this very seriously and very committed to trying to get themselves ahead. And
it's also already been touched on, but for Strictly Business, you do have a couple of those players with a little bit of experience. You've got oBoronic. He's regarded as one of the best mid laners right now in the North American console scene. And when you walk into a LAN environment, knowing that that's just kind of the standard you not only have set for yourself, but that the public perception has in place for you as well, it just becomes a little ingrained that you have to perform.
And it gets frightening when you see someone with such a positive KDA. When it comes down, like, you recognize at this point, like you're looking at oBoronic specifically, he's going to be getting kills. And now you know he's going into this one. He's going to be playing Habwa, who's known for getting kills. It's very frightening, and especially on LAN where you don't have as much time to react. It's going to be coming out a lot more instantaneously. A lot of these players are going to have to deal with something, and you can see, like, the impact he has had throughout the split. The way that he played actually set up a lot for his team.
The main thing for oBoronic that has always impressed me every time he plays is his positioning. He is one of the few mid laners, I believe, that actually just has so much patience, refuses to be the initiating factor, because he knows if he's out of line, then he's probably going to end up dying, and then his team is just going to have to suffer and deal with it.
And we won't be seeing it this game, but you could see, like, in those highlights playing the Raijin, oBoronic is the one that always stood out to me, because it was never, I'm going to use my ult to get the damage down. It was a nice little cherry on top, but it was always controlling the flow of the fight, setting up the rest of his team to shine and come through and be the ones that are really standing in front of him, and kind of being that cornerstone comes through, which is what you expect from someone who's literally in the middle of the map.
Anytime you can actually trust your team to have that follow-up factor, it just gives you so much more room for growth and development as a team, especially for LAN, because you've been working on the synergy throughout the online portion. Sure, that's all fine and handy, but can you actually translate that to the real-life situation? And for some of these players, that can be a little bit difficult, but for, again, those players that have been to the LANs, they've experienced already having to perform in a real life situation that it makes it a little bit easier, I would say, as far as being accustomed to that sort of pressure.
Especially when it goes from, that was mentioned on the desk as well, going from sitting in a room by yourself with your friends in your ears to sitting in a room. Now all of your friends are right by you. You see the other team sitting across from you. You know, like, this is where it stands. And then, of course, you hear the yells of everyone who's getting hype, anyone who's watching. It's always a much different experience, and you have to kind of really focus up to not let the pressure get to you.
I think one of my favorite things that the players, or some of the players at least, have done, I don't know how many of them are going to do it by the end of this LAN weekend, but Transonics actually started the air horn movement, and that's probably one of the more fun facts.
All around, I've been hearing that just slowly but surely kind of cropping up. And I heard it at very first when I was getting water this morning, and it was throughout the last set, and I expect to hear it more throughout the day.
Yeah, that's just one of those things where it really is anybody's game.
Yeah. And it's always, to me, it's always fun, like seeing the other teams, like they're taking this serious. Some of them are going to be studying, like, hey, this is someone in our group. We need to know what exactly are they doing? What exactly are they going to be pulling out? Can we adapt to it? Well, that's going to be the questions they have to answer. We're actually going to throw it to a quick break as we get some things settled here, but we'll be back shortly with the game. Welcome back, folks. We are just here with a small update, so we're still trying to get things settled up, get the players ready, get everything corralled together to bring you this first game between Elevate and Strictly Business. But it's going to be an interesting one as long as they can go through, and we've seen the picks and bans. You can see them here on the screen. But again, it's going to be a short break before we get everything fully running, and we're going to throw it back to one real fast before we can bring you that game.
And for everybody who's just now tuning in and catching up, of course, we've already gone over a couple of the core parts of each of these giraffes, but it's going to be the Habwa, Athena, Erlang, Shen combination that really seals it for me.
And Thor, I feel like, just augments that even stronger. So you're going to have taunt, you're going to have another taunt just in case the first taunt wasn't enough, and then you have a dunk stun or just a wall stun, whatever you really want, which at this point is just going to set up Strictly Business. Probably oBoronic going to be the one who's going to just throw that damage down, and it's insane to see the amount of damage. It's one of those, during the online phase, Habwa was sometimes first pick, sometimes first ban, coming through definitely in the first phase a lot of the times just because people forget about the damage he can do after weeks of not playing against him, and I feel like this is going to be a swift reminder.
When it comes to sheer brute force, though, I would certainly have to hand that over to Elevate. No questions about it. I mean, Osiris, Chulainn, those are some very intimidating warriors already, very prevalent in the console scene as well, just because they can provide so much damage while also absorbing tons of it. But it's just that initial concern that it will probably stay lurking around throughout the match as well. Just seeing what happens with this Zeus selection, most of all.
And that's where I'm seeing Elevate. They have the heals from Sylvanus. They have like the tanky front line to go forward and essentially be the distraction, while Anhur Zeus, if you're looking for someone who's going to be able to eat through Thor health, through Erlang Shen health, through Athena health, Zeus and Anhur are the first ones that are going to be forefront, and Anhur actually making the appearance is going to be big, but we do have the game. We're in. We're finally there, and we will be able to watch it as we go into game number 1 of the set coming forward. Elevate and Strictly Business. A lot still on the line for them, and both teams looking to try and pull themselves ahead.
All these players have really just been rearing to go. Or watching that last set of Myth against Kaz, and you could tell that on these players, they just wanted to be the ones up there playing themselves already. So now that it's finally their turn, they're ready to show what they've got.
Mythic and DoctorL, names you will recognize, and DoctorL, I believe, is going to have a fun time on this Koiz and coming through. A lot of setup potential, and one thing I said about Zeus does still apply to Habwa, although it's a little bit harder. He can escape. He does have a way to make himself run really fast, but you can still catch him out.
And two very different mid laner starts here. You've got oBoronic with that T2 of potentially Bancroft's or Book of the Dead. First item, a lot of power, a lot of sustain. oBoronic actually taking a huge chunk of his health. DoctorL still lurking right behind him. He's actually going to be able to find the first blood here.
Habwa, he can run away when he has the water carpet. If he doesn't have the water carpet, he's kind of stuck. He does not have a lot of movement, and even with a little bit of lifesteal, it's not enough to support yourself through 3 members of Elevate coming through, and that is a very fast first blood.
If there's ever an ideal start for a Chulainn, it's going to be that one right there for DoctorL. Getting that first blood bounty is going to be massive. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to secure that speed buff initially, was able to strip away those small creeps. Now with some assistance, he should be hitting level 2 off of this experience.
And you can see right there the glory coming through from the Bumba. I mean, it's going to be 3-man, but he's getting the heal coming through. He's a little low, so being able to heal himself back up and come in, you leave CaMeRxN to get his own buffs. But again, very early start for the mid. Good start for a Chulainn in the jungle to be able to set this up. And Habwa is still sitting at level 1 versus the Zeus at level 2. So the clear is going to start to snowball in favor of Elevate as they can continue this push.
Very smart of CaMeRxN to start in that mid lane alongside of Mythic. Just ensures that they have full control of the mid lane pressure. Habwa can deal damage, but level 1, a little bit more complicated when it comes to lane clear.
Falling back, getting their own buffs, and Elevate actually kind of falling behind in the solo lane area. I mean, DoctorL is keeping up pace, but Nexamiss is sitting level 2 still, just not having the exact same farm experience that you would really want coming into this. And this is, I think, Ryan coming through and just taking advantage of the fact, yes, you lost your mid laner, but everyone was rotating over, everyone was trying to fight. He just sat and farmed.
It was also the 3-man splitting of the fire elementals, the speed buff, when it was just the lone speed buff boss creep. So it makes it a little bit more difficult as far as acquiring those early levels. But Osiris versus Erlang, that's still a matchup that Nexamiss can really go toe-to-toe with. And Ryan Jarman, he's not foreign to aggression. I kind of expect these two to really start going at it once these secondary members of the solo lane start leaving.
Setting themselves up. Kaeydan has a ton of potential to try and find a kill, but unfortunately, when you're up against Osiris and you're up against the Sylvanus, even getting the stun, even getting a double tap is usually not going to be enough poke to really kind of get yourself running the way you would want to. Yeah, you can throw the damage down, but with those two hovering together, the heal would come out, everything just gets null.
And Matt Koiz, well, Mythic actually just turned level 5 as well, but Matt Koiz was actually the first level 5 in the match. One of the benefits of just being left alone in that dual lane with a farm. Great pin there out of Ryan Jarman. Not going to be enough to secure any kills onto Nexamiss, but still, that poke is dangerous.
And it can go through as long as they sit at lower health, it would help. But the problem is going to be that Kenshin's going to just heal it up. He's going to have no problem. He's got plenty of mana to work with right now. And there's no time. Like, at this point, like, you're so early in the game, you won't have itemized into anti-heal, so it's not going to affect it. That poke should ultimately get washed away. And speaking of washed away, Habwa still sitting a little bit further behind, catching up in terms of farm, but with that one death, you can see that oBoronic is playing it safe.
But DoctorL, even after receiving the first blood, he just hit level 5 in comparison to Kaeydan, who's been 5, and granted, it might only be by a creep or two, but it's the little things that are going to end up adding up, especially when it comes for Elevate's draft and a composition that can't really afford to fall behind.
And we had mentioned how close this group is, and specifically these two teams don't really know what all to expect. Strictly Business was very strong. Elevate had definitely improved over the split coming into this one. It's going to be a good proving grounds for them. I mean, already having the first blood and getting it so early and so cleanly is a good testament to their skill here. And I expect to see more of that through this game, keeping it pretty much neck and neck.
This probably will be a much more steady pace because of the fact that Strictly Business suffered the first blood. And so for Elevate to have that advantage, Strictly Business want to be able to have the control. They've got a little bit more experience. Speaking of which, DoctorL actually going for the blink initiation, gets a great knock up there, but oBoronic's just going to ult away, freedom.
DoctorL just jumps on out, has no issue going in, going out, but comes down, dunking Kaeydan, looking for that last little tick of damage coming in with Matt Koiz, trying to set this up. The taunt is going to be coming through any time now to try and set up the mid laner kill, but it's going to be Matt Koiz picking it up. He was already ahead, so he's just going to push himself even further.
Spotting out that red buff, though, Kaeydan's not willing to just let Kenshin walk away. Kenshin's only level 4. He doesn't have an ultimate to try and contest, and DoctorL just getting completely deleted.
The beads used from CaMeRxN as well means it's going to be dangerous if he tries to re-engage here, as he's looking for that disengage, and now jungle buffs being swept through. 2 kills picked up. Strictly Business trying to swing this one back over into their favor, which it wasn't necessarily going into Elevate's favor, but they've definitely been able to put themselves slightly on top.
Just too deep of an initiation there by DoctorL, it feels. He got a little bit too aggressive, didn't have his teammates close by for the straightforward follow-up, and because of that, it immediately turned on by Strictly Business, and then they were just able to swamp.
Oh, they do end up getting it. I saw that come through, and I saw Nexamiss freeze for a second, and I was like, he thought, like, Ryan Jarman just took it, but not going to be the case. Still, Cheeky going through one of those things you hate. There's two things in the world that buffs and players hate, and it's when you're a jungler and you lose your speed, or a solar and you lose your blue. Not going to be the case for Nexamiss, as he's still going to be able to box it out, but 2 levels down.
And again, for anybody who's wondering who Ryan Jarman is, formerly named Niquid, that's just a pretty recent name change, happened over this the most previous split. And for Shen Business as well, even though he wasn't able to strip away that blue buff, the fact that Shen Business has so much control on the dual lane and against Elevate in their own jungle, Cameron just cannot feel very confident in trying to, because most ADCs, they get to just farm out the red buff XP on their own and then look for the 1v1 potentially against Fatal Ghost. That's the whole purpose of picking Anhur, because you want to box, but SB probably not going to let that happen.
Especially with the presence of Kaeydan right now. He's going in, trying to get that Berserker's Barrage damage down, but does force the ult out of Nexamiss, and coming through, the taunt's going to be good. The wall to get a little bit of stun up into the sky. He comes crashing down, going to be able to go and control Nexamiss, but it's not going to swing their way as the rotation's just big. Coming through Elevate, they're going to pick up 2 kills cleanly, and Matt Koiz, he has oBoronic waiting in the wings, but can they actually turn this around?
And oBoronic, he's probably starting to regret hanging out here just a little bit. Fatal Ghost trying to find the 1v1 onto Cameron. Pillar going to be good for now, but it's not enough. Cameron getting soloed on land.
Now coming down, oBoronic doing his best. He's in a 1v3 right now, just trying to save this speed buff. Going to be looking to try and go in. But there's only so much you can do as Habwa. A lot of damage usually comes down, but you don't have survivability. And this early, especially when you were first blooded, you don't want to fight the 1v3.
And again, what looked like a promising fight for one team, just a completely 180s against them. Strictly Business getting punished for not cleaning up Nexamiss immediately, and Mythic with a beautiful Zeus ultimate placement.
Coming around, though, the big thing I think Strictly Business was able to get out of it. They lost a couple kills. The solo lane definitely didn't go the way they wanted, but Fatal Ghost does get the solo kill and pushes himself just ahead, just enough to kind of keep Cameron down. You were saying Anhur wants to fight, but you're starting to fall behind.
No, these ADCs have been feisty. I mean, we saw a 1v1 in the last match between Keegs and Atonement, where Keegs ended up on top. Although, to be fair, he had a pretty massive experience lead already, and when you've got about 2k gold in your favor, it's pretty standard for that to go against you. Speaking of which, Kenshin, not sure he wants to be trying to defend this red buff right now.
Looking for the setup. Not going to be able to find anything for the side of Strictly Business. They're going to get forced out, but Fatal Ghost is still hanging around and still looking for that extra little bit of damage. The rest of the team falls back. They want the Oracle Harpies, potential setup for a Gold Fury, or at least some vision to be able to catch these rotations. And I'm still looking, Kaeydan has his ult available, and that's been kind of the one that's been tide-turning for Strictly Business. They want to go in, they want Matt Koiz, they want Kaeydan right there leading the front line.
But the last time that Kaeydan came crashing down with that Thor ultimate in the solo lane, it was immediately met by Mythics, and that Zeus ult placement is really what sold that team fight for Elevate, and it was great because they basically had to forfeit a lot of the pressure in dual lane, especially since Fatal Ghost just got a solo kill onto Cameron. So now if they want to amp up their focus onto the solo lane side instead and look to try and strip away the buffs from SB, Speed, Blue, Fire Elementals, well, they're actually going to be losing the Fire Elementals, but keeping an eye on the portal is always a smart choice early on.
DoctorL going to be hanging around over here. Once you're under those towers, it's still sub 10 minutes. You can start to try and get under there, but it still deals just enough damage that you don't know if you're going to be able to come out alive, especially when you're looking full health bar to full health bar. If they were sitting half health, I wouldn't mind seeing Elevate maybe go ahead and collapse in on that, but they're not going to look for any aggression that's going to be over-aggressive, because we've seen a lot of teams end up toppling themselves just when trying to fight too much.
And another interesting trade-off, too, that SB has actually opted for is giving oBoronic that red buff as opposed to Fatal Ghost toting it. And Cameron's actually got the red from Elevate, which is leading me to believe that Fatal Ghost has got to be feeling pretty confident, willing to take a 1v1 trade, potentially, against Cameron when he doesn't have a red buff of his own. It automatically puts you at a slight disadvantage to the enemy hunter.
And even with a small level lead, like it's maybe half a level, maybe a little bit more between the two hunters, it's not enough to make up for that, although the taunt is definitely enough to equalize that out. The stun going to come through, the purification, return stun into the wall, going to keep Cameron alive as the rest of the team, DoctorL trying to get something in the back line, but Kaeydan, he's up in the air, he's looking for blood, they're too far away, he gets the wall, but it's onto the Sylvanus, so it's not going to really impact them.
And Kenshin has zero fear in the world about that stun coming through, but he had a beautiful pull onto Matt Koiz, but oBoronic is actually going to be punishing Cameron for it.
Now, retreating, we see Strictly Business falling back. They're going to be able to at least set themselves up, potentially going into the mid lane. DoctorL still sitting at about half health, but they're looking for the farm, they're looking for the kill. They spot him out. Koiz has the potential to set this up, and the wall, through the wall, comes down to try and open that up. The taunt going to be good. The knock up into the water hands, and he's going to be catching them.
Water spout, and there is just nothing you can do after that knockup. One of the best CCs in the game for a reason, because there is no way to avoid the damage from Habwa's first ability shortly after.
Now setting themselves up 6-3 at 11 minutes. What's been going kind of back and forth between the two teams, Strictly Business, trying slowly but surely to chug themselves into the lead, and they're taking a decent advantage of it. Fatal Ghost showing exactly how ahead he feels by going for this red buff. Going to get pulled, actually uses the beads, afraid of the follow-up because he did see Cameron kind of walking up towards him. Gets the two smaller minions, but not the buff.
It's one of those circumstances where I actually feel as though he beats because he thought he might have still been able to secure that red buff, but realizing that he got pulled just a little bit too out of position, and Cameron was actually able to pick it up. It's hard to out-secure that impale from Anhur.
And oBoronic is actually the one here for Strictly Business taking their red buff. So still in the scenario for Fatal Ghost if he goes into that 1v1. Now he has a 2-level lead because he has been able to take some experience. He has been farming, and of course he has the 2-kill advantage. But it's still one of those boxing matchups that's going to be interesting for him to take slowly but surely. As he continues getting that lead, he'll be more comfortable with.
This combination, though, from Koiz and oBoronic has been absolutely disgusting. And I love the patience from Koiz as well, because he is waiting for the most perfect taunt setups after everybody's already tried using their escapes for the guys that actually do have those escapes provided to them. And that's really been the main key here for SB and making this hot block come online.
Suns are dropped. Gold Fury about to drop as well, and no one from Elevate going to notice it in time. They're going to hear the cue, and they're going to feel bad because they were just about to make that rotation over. Jarman gets a tower and is looking for a kill as the Thorns go down. Could potentially turn it around, but they're both sitting very low health. The level advantage and the numbers advantage in favor of Elevate, but comes crashing down. Kaeydan looking to try and clean up and return this, but they do get the Zeus ult, so they're at least going to try to run away. Kaeydan's too low to continue this engagement.
And oBoronic might be too low as well, just going to get cleaned up at the end of his ultimate, and now 4 members strong from Elevate, looking to secure this T1 tower with 2 already dead from SB, both being a damage dealer and just a solo laner. There's really no one who can be left to contest that.
Another one coming through. You lose 2 members on Strictly Business, and Elevate have effectively brought the kill numbers right next to each other, 5 and 6, as they look to take the Portal Demon, they look to take the tower on the right-hand side, and they were pushing a little in mid, but they're going to fall back ultimately for a bigger neutral objective here in the middle.
A shortly lived victory for SB for sure. Anytime you're able to secure a Gold Fury in that manner, you'd kind of imagine to have a little bit more map pressure and control, but Elevate just immediately capitalizing on SB, kind of relaxing there for a second. I mean, Jarman knew that he was in danger. He pops the Thorns, he's just trying to disengage after securing that T1 tower, but then there's really nobody able to get there in time to save him.
And now you've set yourself up for exactly this. Coming in, we see Nexamiss coming and trying to fight, although didn't expect the rest of Strictly Business there. Does end up falling, and now Jarman and Koiz potentially looking for a little bit more. They find the root, but again, recognizing that the rest of the team can still rotate over. It's not going to be the fight you think you're going to take. They fall back, they confirm their buffs, and they set themselves up to potentially continue this role.
Just a little bit too greedy there from Nexamiss. After your team's able to secure the Portal Demon, there's really no need to try and engage by yourself. Kind of reckless when you think about it, because that's Jarman's blue buff. He's pretty deep. You've got to be fairly invested into the enemy team's jungle to even come close to stealing it as an Osiris. So made it all too easy for Strictly Business to just rotate on over and clean up.
And at that point, you know that the Gold Fury was already taken, so the team doesn't have that much heavy weight on the duo side of the map, so they can rotate wherever they want. And as you can see, 4 members immediately responding there to Nexamiss, who was there and then he wasn't. And now it's looking like the same aggression's going to be coming out. Kaeydan, Jarman, and Koiz all set up to try and steal, but again, they recognize the rotation. They see 4 members of Elevate. They just don't want to take that fight.
Jarman still thinking about it. Gonna throw that pin over the wall just in case. Never really know if you can catch anybody off guard with it. Ward vision slightly in favor of Elevate for the moment, but Koiz has just been chilling in this mid lane, charged up on the Athena, looking for that taunt dash combination.
Approaching 16 minutes in. 7-5 right now, 12 kills on the board, and Strictly Business have been slowly but surely farming their way to victory. They have 3,000 gold advantage as it stands right now, and as time goes on, I mean, Habwa and Zeus, both really the mid laners from either side, start to get a little bit stronger, but oBoronic has definitely been able to make up for that first blood.
And 4 members now, Strictly Business, they want to siege this T1 tower. Koiz, though, off the mark with that taunt. Everybody just looking to disengage, but Cameron, he already popped that ultimate.
Nexamiss rotating over as well, and we do see Jarman coming up down the mid lane. But no one wanted to fight. Strictly Business recognized that it would have been a bad fight, and Elevate didn't full commit when they went in. And now Cameron and DoctorL both losing their ultimates in an engagement that kind of got some poke down onto oBoronic.
Check out Kaeydan, though. He's kind of lurking on this right-hand side, waiting to see if he can go in with the Thor ultimate, maybe even just a wall, able to stun out 2 already on the backside. They're going to be zoned away. Jarman kind of just trying to cause chaos on the backside. And Nexamiss, he's going to be able to clean up oBoronic on the front.
Trades his life out, though, in the process, and right now we do see Strictly Business looking to try and keep it as only a 1-for-1, although they aren't able to find anything after that. And we saw, again, more ults being dropped down. Elevate able to use those ultimately to get rid of the mid laner, but you're exercising a lot. Like, you're throwing so much down to kill this Habwa, and Nexamiss once again trades his life out for that aggression.
It's probably still slightly in favor of Elevate, though, because you've got a Chulainn and a Sylvanus. Those are still 2 members that can absorb a lot of damage and provide just enough peel to keep Mythic safe. But for SB, they kind of need oBoronic to be that ultimate damage dealer outside of Fatal Ghost if they want somebody for the guaranteed kill secure.
The wall set up, a lot really riding on the back of Kaeydan coming through for the next few engagements. And I expect him to be kind of the cornerstone for setting it up. Of course, Koiz has that same potential, but we've been seeing a lot. Unless Kaeydan can go in, the rest of the team's been kind of hesitant to go forward with it. They don't feel as committed to going in without the stun coming either from the ult or the wall that Thor can set up.
And for Strictly Business as well, they already had that Gold Fury time, but the Gold Fury having respawn, they're going to be trying to secure those oracles. Fatal Ghost going to make sure those go in favor of Strictly, but he wants to toy around with this Gold Fury, maybe pressure and force out another engagement.
Trying to hold on to it as best they can, and this is the best way to push yourself into a further lead if you're Strictly Business. A great way to equalize it if you are on the side of Elevate. They were able to get that Portal Demon earlier, which is also about to respawn, so a lot of objectives just straight down the line through the middle going to be coming up, and a lot to contest for both of these teams. Unfortunately, when it comes down to it, Elevate don't quite have as much burst potential, I feel, to steal those away as we would see from Strictly Business.
Zeus Secure is mostly throwing the ultimate down, trying to get those 3 lightning charges so your detonate does massive amounts of damage in a very small amount of space. Mythic, though, going to be forced out of those purification beads already. Sun's dropped just for good measure. Beads and Aegis already burned. All Strictly Business need to do now is disengage.
What I really liked was Kaeydan's positioning through all of that as well as they set themselves up. Still sitting on the side and trying to return this Nexamiss once again in the backline between 4 members, potentially get bursted down if they choose to turn on him. But DoctorL is going to be getting aggressive with him. They're trying to get into position to take the fight. Now Jarman fighting 1v4, looking to go through, but comes crashing down as Kaeydan trying to return the damage, forced to use his Aegis. Nexamiss pays for his aggression. Kaeydan teleports on out of there. And now it's going to be a 4v4 once again. Strictly Business still have a good position to fight.
Koiz ulting Kaeydan for good measure just to ensure that nobody else is going to be following up, trying to provide some of that damage mitigation. But with the 4v5 power play, well, technically a 4v4 because Kaeydan has the back to base.
Coming through, they're trying to fight this as best they can. DoctorL coming into the back, but Kenshin has been erased. Fatal Ghost is low, and he's the main target for DoctorL trying to go back there. oBoronic's going to fall down. DoctorL trades his life out, so another trade coming down, but Strictly Business, they still have a tanky Koiz. Kaeydan returning back to the lane. No one can get the Gold Fury, but they've definitely set themselves up to still try to reap the benefits afterward.
Love what Cameron and Mythic did there. They immediately spread apart as soon as they saw that it was only oBoronic trying to pressure into them, making that first ability actually miss from oBoronic when he was trying to get a little bit of damage secure out there.
And when you lose one of the 3 damaging abilities, especially when you're Habwa, that's your survivability. Like, that is, you have to kill them in order to stay alive in that kind of position. Fortunately for oBoronic, it's not going to be the case. Cameron uses the beads to stay alive. Strictly Business setting up once again for this Gold Fury. 4 members hanging around. Kaeydan still hanging back, does have the ult once again to be able to try and change this around, but ultimately, Nexamiss is just enough pressure to push them away.
It seems as though the mindset here for Elevate is throw as much pressure into their backline as possible and hope that it keeps them distracted long enough for Mythic to get some free cast off. But Mythic has just been getting noticed every single time by Kaeydan, by Ryan Jarman. Both of these guys from SB doing a great job at ensuring that Mythic isn't provided that leisure to the same extent as what Fatal Ghost and Oboronic have kind of been receiving.
Gold Fury started up here this time by Elevate as they're just trying to bait Strictly Business in. They're going to be able to go through, but the taunt's going to be big from Koiz as he sets it up. Kenshin sitting at half health, going to knock them up, but it doesn't matter. You're still dead right now. Oboronic getting chased around. He's getting low, but it's DoctorL and Nexamiss alone trying to find him. He's one hit away if they can confirm it. They're going to be able to get it, but they're under tower. Stunned down. Nexamiss trying to run away. The Thorns is definitely enough to keep him alive a little bit longer, but the rest of Strictly Business is collapsing on in.
That ricochet, though, from Fatal Ghost is completely chunking away at DoctorL. Ryan Jarman going to be able to clean up Nexamiss as well. And one more time, 3 for 1. Gold Fury still on the table. No Zeus ultimate available either for Elevate.
Mythic by himself, and that's not a great place to be as a Zeus. You're going to use the Purification Beads to keep yourself alive. You know the taunt is down. Your Aegis comes through as well just to try and keep you alive, but the entire time, exactly what they needed. Strictly Business had a distraction for Fatal Ghost to go ahead and start up this Gold Fury. He's just going to try and run that by himself. He's getting low, but he's ultimately going to be able to take it.
It seemed as though Cameron was debating whether or not he and Mythic should try pulling that Portal Demon, but just too many members from SB ready in that mid lane to try and contest should they venture over that way. And Fatal Ghost was a little bit low afterwards, but still able to pull that Gold Fury, tank it up proficiently enough that now it's just free.
A lot has been committed onto Oboronic. Oboronic has been the main punching bag for Elevate. He's 5-5-5. But when you look at Oboronic and only Oboronic, you start to see how Fatal Ghost, level 19, 4-0-6, 5 out of the 6 items that he needs to be able to set this up. You don't want to let the Hu Yi go unanswered.
It's also the double Thorns investment from Elevate too. They are really trying to make sure that Oboronic either kills himself or gets killed before he can do anything else. And Fatal Ghost has just been having the time of his life. Nobody's really been paying any attention to him. 4-0-6. Being a part of 10 kills as a hunter, you should almost never be allowed to play that aggressively, but he's been making it happen.
And still trying to make it happen. A good stun off the taunt coming down from Koiz, but ultimately just forcing Nexamiss to jump back, leap out of there, and stay away as Kaeydan's still looking for the aggression elsewhere. He did use his ult as well coming down onto that, so ultimately just big zoning from Strictly Business, but they're halfway done with the Portal Demon still set up to try and take it, and no one from Elevate really in the position to run in and take it back.
It's going to take SB a little bit longer, though, to secure those objectives just because they don't have that crit build, such as what Cameron is running. DoctorL now in a little bit of danger from Kaeydan. Kaeydan, I don't think he wants to let it go, but speaking of which, Mythic, where'd you go, pal?
One of those setups. You can Kenshin and Mythic all in one place to try and keep that damage down, but ultimately you have to hope that they stay in one place. Kaeydan going to use, just actually be able to walk on out of that one, no problem. Does use the Aegis, still going to be hurt just a little bit, but just as hurt is Nexamiss as he's going down. DoctorL's really low, but he falls back to the base, and this just opens it up for Strictly Business to start taking this tier 2 tower.
Kaeydan just made a perfect play right there, keeping 2 members of Elevate from backing. All they get out of it is a T1 tower, but the rest of his team is just sieging everything.
Yeah, now they're actually starting the Phoenix damage. They stun out DoctorL as they're just trying to keep him under control as they just take this down. No Fire Giant. They haven't taken any big objectives recently other than the Portal Demon, but they're still able to run through. They've pushed their lead now 10,000 gold at 24 minutes, and what was kind of keeping pace for pace, that Phoenix swings a pretty big favor for Strictly Business.
It's just the target focus for me from Elevate. It seems to be all over the place. You've got 3 members from your team doing their best to try and defend against a 4-man push, and Cameron and DoctorL just being a little bit too lackadaisical with their backs there. They really needed to get out. I can understand wanting to pressure the T1 tower, strip that away, but leaving your team that vulnerable when the enemy is very clearly not looking to back down is a little bit of a misplay.
Now it's going to be a little bit scarier as you have to play against that. You have to change your mindset and come into this because Strictly Business have the Fire Giant. Fatal Ghost still hasn't died. And when it comes down to anything with a Fire Giant that's going to be dangerous for your towers or your health bar, it's going to be the Hu Yi coming through, especially with Koiz. Oboronic still being alive, finally kind of breaking through 7, 5, and 6 now. So pushing themselves ahead.
One of Elevate's saving graces, though, is going to be this Zeus when it comes to Phoenix defense.
Yeah.
Mythic can come up huge here. He's not doing too hot on farm, but no one really is from Elevate other than Cameron, because he got quite a lot of solo farm being an ADC right now. But it's just that Mid Phoenix is already gone. So push that wave as hard as possible. Hope that you're not going to have to worry about those fire creeps pouring into your base while looking to defend either the left or right-hand Phoenixes.
And that's really the big thing, is you have to push that focus so you aren't split up coming into this. Fire minions, they're always glorious. Right here, mid lane, yes, it's not a quick or not a slow path back to either side, whichever one Strictly Business decide to siege down, but it still keeps you occupied for part of that fight. We're going to see the tier 2 fall on the left-hand side. Duo Fatal Ghost coming through and just pushing as hard as he can, opening up yet another Phoenix.
SB, though, they really do have to respect the Zeus-Sylvanus combination. Even DoctorL with that Chulainn knockup could have a very perfect setup for Mythic to just follow it up with. He's still going to deal a ton of damage if he's able to not rack up those lightning charges on you.
Trying to siege it down, but with 5 ultimates, this is exactly what you had said. This is where Elevate can shine bright if they want to. They need to go in. The Suns are going to be dropped onto the Phoenix, trying to get the zoning down. We do see DoctorL as well as Nexamiss going in and trying to do whatever they can, but Nexamiss is once again getting burst down, forced to ult just to get out of there, and DoctorL on the run as well. We see Kaeydan, though, not done with them yet, comes crashing down to keep that pressure from Strictly Business going, and Kenshin's going to be the first to fall.
And it's going to be the left-hand Phoenix falling in the process. DoctorL getting cleaned up by oBoronic. A fire wave starting to run into the base of Elevate, and Strictly Business, they look like they want to close this one out.
Trying to open it up. The Titans exposed. They have minions coming down the left and mid lane. They don't need the right Titan if they can keep picking up kills. And Cameron, you're the next on the list. He's going to fall down. Nexamiss trying to heal up. Mythic trying to spread that damage down, but Strictly Business are pushing, and they find themselves up 1 game in the set so far.
Oh, those guys are definitely feeling it right now. They've been screaming the entire game, and they are certainly excited for securing their first LAN win here at their SEL finals.
Yeah, and showing the strength. I mean, it was kind of neck and neck. Elevate definitely were in that game for a long time, but Strictly Business was just able to push themselves. They found the right fights, the right kills at the right time, and really set it up. And a lot of it, I believe, was on the positioning. Kaeydan did a pretty good part of kind of separating from the team, but still having the impact.
For me, I think a lot of that was Kaeydan and Matt Koiz. They had great positioning and great map awareness. The target focus just seemed way more clean out of SB, and it was a lot easier when they were able to take out those target members like Nexamiss, like DoctorL, one at a time. That was the main thing that Elevate tried to avoid, or needed to avoid, I should say, is you can't afford to split up when you're running a draft that relies on all 5 members being together.
It's an old deadly combo coming through, but it's one that they definitely played perfectly. Strictly Business find themselves up game 1, and the desk is going to break it down for us.
Thank you, Goremizer and Taco, and thank you for joining us back here at the desk. Strictly Business did come out the better in game 1. I got Tola here with me, as well as some help here from Obey. Tell me a little bit about what happened there in that game.
I mean, Strictly Business just gave Elevate the business, honestly. They won the team fights very convincingly. At the end, what I saw specifically was the ability from Strictly Business to just kind of pull Elevate apart, where it was Kaeydan 2-man splitting, getting the Hunter and the Soul Laner involved, I think it was, and then that team fight in the middle where they got the tier 2 tower and then the Phoenix shortly after.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that is what we talked about, you know, the room for error. Elevate just had such a smaller room for error than SB did. I mean, the Thor ults for Kaeydan was huge. The Athena ults from Matt Koiz was huge too. And then Ghost even getting a solo kill over there in the duo lane was really good.
And I think also it was the impact of the Hunter, not only just the player himself, but the god selection too. The Anhur didn't really provide much of the punch at all, like doing a lot of less the player damage.
Yeah, and if you're picking Anhur, you're looking to be really aggressive in the early game. And they just weren't able to get that done with the Anhur. You know, he was, Koiz was over there a little bit, Kaeydan was over there a little bit, and then winds up getting a solo kill, and there goes your Anhur momentum that you want to have as an early game Anhur.
No, you're right. Fatal Ghost, in particular, on that Hui was anything but a ghost in that match. I mean, I'm sure I'm the first person to make that joke, but he went off in that game on that Hui. You can see it here, 6-0-9, having a big impact, and as you mentioned, even getting that solo kill over there in the duo lane too. So when a Hui rotates over and he's fed, I mean, it's hard to do a lot against.
And not only that, the composition from Elevate between the Osiris and Chulainn couldn't really go on Fatal Ghost, it seemed, whatsoever. They're just being able to dive bomb away, really utilize the speed from the Hobwalk carpet to get away if necessary. And that's what you really do as a mid-mage and your physical hunter, just play off of each other. And between Hui and Hobwalk, that's a lot of good control they have.
Yeah, I mean, they just had, once they got a little bit ahead, I mean, it was just too much damage for the Elevate tanks to handle. You know, they got the Hui mark, chunking down percentage health, and then the Hebo was just doing, I mean, you know, like you said, he's got 3 ults late game, so there's nothing they could do.
And we were talking about that team fights in Elevate's favor would only be impactful if it lasted longer and longer, but between the burst of the Hui and the Hobwa there, just no possible lengthy team fights.
And I think we also saw in that game the difference in mobility between those compositions. You talked a little bit about how it seemed like he was able to get out Fatal Ghost was if they went in on him. But I mean, also with, Kaeydan dunking down on them, like you said, the carpet from Hebo, the Athena as well. They were able to move around the map way better, even within team fights, it felt like, from Strictly Business.
Every time Kaeydan would go in, Koiz was there to bail him out. That one team fight around the Gold Fury after the initiation there from Nexamiss was just, from Ryan Jarman, it was very important for them to be able to switch aggro very quickly there. And something that I really noticed from SB was just how loud they were, even towards the later stage of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're loud like that, when you're in the other team's head, then that really, it plays a factor. You know, if you get them second guessing, or if you get them unfocused just a little bit and off their game just a little bit, like you saw, I think, a little bit last game, then that's what can happen. You know, the lead just spiraled out of control for SB.
And they were really loud after the first game. There's still one more game to go after this, and I was talking to you about it actually right before we went live here. But Koiz has never been this loud before. Yeah,
no, I had plenty of conversations with Koiz. He's kind of a quiet guy, but this is his first LAN in a while, so I think he's hyped to be out there. And I thought he would play great, and he did play great on that Athena.
And I wanted to ask you here too, Toli, about this Sylvanus pick here from Kenshin. Do you feel like they got as much out of that Sylvanus as they wanted? I mean, we saw you don't only pick him for that healing, but I think their team only had about 5k healing. I mean, do you feel like they got the most out of that Sylvanus pick, or were they just too far behind?
I think they didn't get the momentum early game to be able to survive a lot of these objectives that SB really wanted to get under their belt. And because of how slowly it started drifting away from them, the team fights later on, especially with Kaeydan, making that huge play distracting to allowing his team to find some picks in middle, then getting the tier 2 Phoenix Fire Giant to close out the game. No potential comeback for Elevate.
Yeah, and that's why you pick the Sylvanus. You pick it for the early aggression, and they just weren't able to execute the early aggression as much as they needed to. And Elevate's comp was just kind of a one-trick pony. You know, once that Sylvanus ult, Zeus ult was gone, it wasn't working, then their whole comp just kind of fell apart.
Yeah, and a big part of why it wasn't working for them, oBoronic on this Hobwa, man, he was going off and so much damage that he's able to do. We talk about it all the time that he basically, at a certain point, has 3 ultimates, as you said, but, we really saw the impact of it here, 9, 5, and 7 on that Hebo.
Just so much damage, and the mobility, we keep stressing a mobility here, not just the global presence, but the carpet here, being able to get the movement speed, and then negating a lot of the slows that Elevate's composition relied on, especially with Osiris just running at you. Negating those slows is very important for survival.
Yeah, and a lot of the meta right now is the tanks just, popping the thorns and running at you. What do you do as Hebo? Turn around, throw your carpet, and run away. It was perfect.
And we're seeing in all these highlights and playbacks that we're seeing here too, Koiz, man, my dude's in all these replays setting up with these Athena taunts. But going into game 2 here, what do you want to see them try and switch up? What do you want to see Elevate try and do differently to slow down some of this push we saw from Strictly Business?
I want to see them go for a not so all-in comp. That comp last game was just, it's all right, we're going to burst you down or you're going to kill us. So I'd like to see a little bit more of a well-rounded comp. I would like to see them pick Geb Kenshin loves Geb. His Geb is good, and Mythic likes to play these immobile mid-mages, so Geb works really well with them. And then I think DoctorL on a Warrior was fine. We could see him on a Warrior, maybe a Guardian, maybe the Kabrakan or the Ymir, or if he's feeling spicy, the Morrigan.
I'm looking at specifically Cameron here. The way he played the Anhur was not to expectations. You know, we were talking about how aggressive he wanted to be. He didn't win the solo trade at all. And on top of that, his build was also a little bit more crit-centric around an ability-based hunter. So I kind of want to see some switch-ups from him.